Hello, everyone, and welcome to Movie Mandates, the show where my sister and I force each other to watch movies according to a monthly theme. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Kelly.
And this month's theme is Quintessential 80s. So, I mandated Kelly watch Turbo Kid. Yes, Turbo Kid. That 80s movie from
2015.
2015. Which counts because it's an 80s pastiche, an homage, a ripoff. But before we get to that, it's only fair that since I mandated today's movie, Kelly gets to challenge me in a segment we call Trivial Trivia.
Yes, excellent. So I'm very excited about this here question because I don't know the answer, so it's very exciting. You and I are
great because you won't know when I'm wrong.
So you and I are both huge horror movie fans, and in fact, we have been known to say after exiting a movie theater that just wasn't bloody enough, or they didn't go far enough for it. So buckets of blood we like, but I want to know from you, what is the one death, or maybe they survived but it was supposed to be death, movie moment that really got to you? Because I know you're very stoic. What actually made you tingle?
You know what? It's interesting. I can actually think of a few deaths that made me go, "Aw, that doesn't make me feel good." Usually, death, I'm like, "Yeah, death." I mean, I get excited. I get excited when pets or kids get offed in movies. I'm like, yeah, you never get to see that. No.
Well, Funny Game I just love, but no, not hits you in the emotional, hits you in the ouch, ouchie, ouch.
Makes you go, oh, geez.
Yeah.
Well, let me answer the first one first, since that's how I interpreted it.
Oh, yeah.
A movie death that makes me unhappy is Eddie Carr's death in Jurassic World, the second Jurassic Park movie.
Yeah.
Because he's one of the only characters in the film I liked, and he doesn't just get killed, he gets killed hard. Right after spending like a solid 10-minute sequence busting his ass trying to save three unlikable people who are unlikable. For those who it's I mean they're in that big trailer and it's falling off a cliff, and he runs and he's sliding through the mud and he hooks the tow cable from one of the Jeeps to the thing, and he starts gunning it and trying to pull the damn thing up off the edge of the cliff. And then both Rexes show up and he keeps his foot on the accelerator. Even with two Rexes tearing his car apart, he's crouching down because the whole roof of the car gets torn off. He's still got his foot on the accelerator trying to save these people, and he gets yanked out of his car by the foot and then grabbed by his head by the other one and ripped in half. He gets wishboned, and I'm like, that does not make me feel good. And there's it's funny. I'm Lost World. I think I said Jurassic World. Lost World, Jurassic Park.
Yeah, I knew
that's the name.
Oh, and I even knew you meant the second one in the original.
But Susan, Lacey, Zaslow, whatever her name is in Jurassic World, the fourth movie.
Oh, yes.
When she gets picked up by the babysitter. Yeah. Thank you. Because she has probably the worst death. She has a death that's reserved for Vincent D'Onofrio. Is it Vincent D'Onofrio?
It is.
The bad guy in that film, and he gets got pretty good in a nice way. He's like trying to do that thing, gets his arm torn off, which is nice. But she's just a babysitter. Yeah. She's not even an asshole babysitter.
No,
she's just fine. You know. She gets picked up by a pterodactyl or something and then dropped in the mosasaur tank. And then for like a solid 30 seconds of screen time is being dive bombed and attacked by the bird dinosaurs and is drowning. And then she gets eaten by the mosasaur, and you can see her trying to climb out of the damn thing's mouth before it snaps shut and pulls. I'm like, oh man, that is just mean and horrific.
It lingers on someone who is supposed to be important. And like, that's another, it's not like she's not important, but she's not important enough for that death. You're right.
This is the kind, it's the kind of death that is either saved for the big bad, so that's the kind of death that's meant to give someone comeuppance. And she didn't do it. I mean, she's not like abandoning the kids or abusing them or taking advantage of them or ignoring them. She's just, it's an odd choice. A death that makes me go, ugh. I think one of my favorites, in a good way, is in Freddy versus Jason. I think it's one of the first kills where Jason walks in someone's bedroom, and the guy is laying face down, and he just stabby multiple times, and then sticks his machete into the ground, grabs both ends of the bed, and goes wham, and just folds this guy in half backwards. And the sound of his anguished sound effect cry is, that it's beautiful. Love it. Folded like a taco. I loved it. That was so great. And that guy was an asshole and deserved it.
See, there you go.
See, that's the kind of thing that makes these extravagant deaths fun.
Yeah. When you can applaud them.
Yes.
All right. Fantastic. So no folding your beds backwards. Got it.
So, all right, Turbo Kid.
Yes.
Before we get into the movie, I guess I should ask, since this is not a movie from the 80s, but an 80s pastiche, how well do you think this movie does 80s?
Okay, so in fact, I thought it was very funny because I was watching this movie with a friend last night, and we were chatting about it, and I told him that it was for Quintessential 80s, and he was like, "I don't think your brother understood the assignment." And I was like, "I don't know. Let's wait for it." And so I will say, it is like, I fully understand why you chose it. I understand why you chose it for a whole bunch of reasons, and it's so, I don't want to say topical, but it's very reminiscent of Stranger Things, which is a huge, that's
also an 80s pastiche. Well, exactly. It also takes place in the 80s. This movie takes place in the far-flung future of 1997 or something like that.
Yeah, but it's a wasteland, and the last generation that made an impact on the earth. So all of the junkyard and scraps and anything, it's all 80s. So it is a futuristic wasteland.
Yeah, snap bracelets and Viewmasters,
but
and things
nothing
like that.
Ever technology did not advance. Nothing advanced past the 80s. So
except they had robots.
Well, because it's so in the future.
Yeah.
But yes, I understand why you chose this. So
yeah, I personally, I think it does a pretty nice job. It's a blend of so many different elements of the 80s. For example, it has it stars kids, although they're young adults, but ostensibly teenagers played by people in their 20s. So it has kind of that Amblin Kids on an Adventure feel. It's very splattery from a gore standpoint, a la Return of the Living Dead and things like that. Oh yeah, it's a post-apocalypse movie, which were all the rage in the 80s because of the success of things like Road Warrior. Also, they're very cheap to film. You just find a desert or a rock quarry, sometimes both, and you
just throw some
you just put people in football pads and have them run around the desert. It's fine. The score is very synth heavy. It's very 80s John Carpenter sounding. So it's if you've seen the poster, which viewers of this podcast will see it, floating next to us, it's got that very 80s painted Drew Struzan look to it. So I think it does a pretty, with the exception of digital effects for some blood splatter that's not working.
Sure. And I mean, again, I'm not going to even remotely complain about the unrealism in all of the deaths and how blood pumps.
Oh
and
yeah, I mean when it's actual dummies filled with goo and chunks, it's wonderful. Whenever it's a digital blood splatter, it just looks terrible and it's no fun.
Right, but
it's pretty clear this was on a budget. There's no actual
bad budget.
They had a budget. They had money,
they had a budget.
but yes, they had money, but not a ton.
Yeah.
It's clear that the digital effects are not great, although there's not that many of it. It is mostly practical, which is nice.
Right.
There's no explosions. There's no buildings blow up or anything. He fires his laser at the side of a rock wall, and it's an optical effect.
Right, and the whole lightning at the end. We'll get there.
Yeah. Well, although they look like in-camera optical stuff that you might have seen from the 80s, so I thought that was nicely done.
I meant to say Tron.
The some of the design elements, especially Turbo Kid's turbo outfit, has a very that aesthetic did remind me of the Tron outfits. Yeah. One thing one rule of thumb is the more production credits you see at the front of a film, the less money they had and the more janky and slapdash and it is. Did you notice how many goddamn production credits are at the front of this movie?
So it was really funny. So like I said, I was watching with my buddy, and Fuchs and I were watching it and noticing, and to the point of like, oh, they're really drawing out this montage of, meeting this guy and the kind of it's done well though. I mean, it's not, I remember early Disney movies, or actually any.
No, I mean production logos on the black screen before you see anything else. I thought
you meant like all of the damn people, because they're like, no, you have to put me before the, and I was like, it just keeps going.
No, it just keeps going. I'm talking about it starts out with the logo for the 2015 official selection for Sundance.
Yes.
Then that fades out. Then it fades in with the 2015 Sundance Audience Award winner logo.
Oh.
And then we get to the production logos.
Companies.
Epic Pictures, Raven Banner, Film Option International, EMA Films, TNA Films, Telefilm Canada, New Zealand Film Commission, Quebec Film and Television Tax Credit, Canada, just all of Canada, I guess.
Thank you, Canada.
Super Channel, Cinepool, Department Camera. That's not a production company. That's a camera rental service, I think. Curious, Alchemy 24, and Let RKSS. That's over a dozen.
I lost count because I just started.
I think that's 15, not counting the Sundance Awards.
Like, oh okay, that I didn't pick up on because I was so busy. Like,
it's probably you're probably getting stuff settled and didn't see it, but there's like 15 company logos on black. It's like 45 seconds of just logo after logo. It's obnoxious.
But you are correct. That signifies anyone who gave a dime is like,
we got money, we got cameras rented, we got all this crap. So I'm guessing due by Canada's on there, all the French names in the credits. I'm guessing this was filmed in Canada.
And there were some differently colored stop signs, and then similar to the US stop signs, but it didn't say stop. It said like amen or something. And
they had a couple people dubbed too. Like I think the flashback to the mom and dad, I think they're dubbed. I'm guessing that these were local actors, probably just spoke French.
Interesting.
Or had really thick accents or something.
Picked up on that, but that's interesting. Like now, so let's talk about said 80s
So,
inspired.
all right, give us a summary recap
Yeah.
of the film so we know what we're in for here.
Absolutely. So we have our hero. It's okay. We start at the beginning and it was a wasteland, like we said, and we have our hero who has a very strict plan that, oh, my brother's killing an insect, a gnat, a mosquito. So he has in a little notebook that he takes with him everywhere, and it has maps in it, and there's danger zones to avoid because, of course, you have to live relentlessly like this. So he does his daily like scavenge, get stuff for scavenging, and he has a comic book. He's a real comic book guy and flamingo guy and everything. And as he's reading this comic, a female pops up and he's like, oh gosh. And here's the thing, I thought he was hallucinating this whole for quite some time.
Okay.
For quite some time, I'm like,
half the movie, I thought she was a figment of his imagination.
So, and she is a pixie dream of just like, she is 80s
manic pixie
everything.
dream
Manic pixie.
girl.
That's exactly what she is. And she is incredible. And
the actor, you mean? Or the character? Or
everything. The character is so like exact, which is why I thought that she was fake.
She's so unreal.
Is because she's so unreal, which we find out later is because she's a robot.
She's a robot, yeah.
But she's made to be a friend. She's a friendship robot. And so she teams up with him. And
whether he likes it or not.
Basically, she puts a tracking bracelet on him. And it's just one of these fun movies so that's the A story. B story is there's an amazing arm wrestler, old Western type guy.
He's a cowboy.
Like he's a cowboy. Like he goes into saloons and
does not fit, but whatever. He's a cowboy.
Yeah, so cowboy's there on his own journey to find his brother.
Isn't his name like Frederick or something?
Yeah,
Frederick, the arm wrestling cowboy.
So it's in subtitles that you learn his name, and I'm like, Frederick, that's the cowboy. Oh, that's not like doesn't.
I think Michael Ironside. Oh, Michael Ironside, another 80s thing.
It is Michael Ironside. Yes.
I think he says it at some point.
So yes, Michael Ironside is a big bad who runs a ring of like cockfighting but for humans, because again, it's a wasteland, and if we've seen Mad Max, we know the only currency that matters in a wasteland is water. And wouldn't you know it, the human body is made up of what? 76% water.
Some percentage.
And so Michael Ironside, all these people that come to these, cockfighting, human fighting events, he just kind of pushes the dead bodies into a machine, and through magic of the processing of, removing our clothes and our bones and our this, that 76% of us that is H2O drips out like crystal clear droplets.
Yeah, he's juicing people. So it's Soylent Green, but it's not food, it's water.
Yeah, Soylent, yes, exactly. This water is people. So obviously both A story and B story find themselves in this pit of despair.
I think there's like it's a pool that they're in. It's an empty pool, and there's a pool party sign on the outside, which is funny.
There's a lot of
you know what else I found funny? Michael Ironside, of course, is the leader of the Marauders, right?
Sure.
How many people do you think he's commanding? 10, 12?
It doesn't seem like a lot.
He has like a dozen guys at best.
And
that's seriously just because that's all the cast they could get. But it's.
And his main sycophant is has Tourette's or
I love that guy.
Too much drugs.
I love that guy's physical performance.
I love everything about him. I love so this guy that we're speaking of has, kind of like you said earlier, brother, like football pads,
yeah, and a skull mask.
And it works. His physicality is incredible. It looks great.
Get you.
when he's doing it, but like, of course, me being, an idiot, I'm
Go
like,
away.
no one's just gonna start shaking just for no reason. But it looks with the big
he's
pads,
very like,
he's an intense MFer, let me tell you. He's like, and he's constantly twitching,
like
and
he's holding himself back from jumping on you and gnawing your face off.
It's quite a physical performance for a man whose face we never see.
Right.
And so bravo on him. I like him a lot. And it was but like, it's such a reminiscent, that's what an 80s like biker gang sort of like thing would be.
Talk about this biker gang.
Oh, when we say biker gang, by the way, we mean bicycles.
Yeah, there's no gas. So it's not motorcycles. It's not big Mad Max armored vehicles. Everyone is on children's bicycles. It's hilarious.
Yes. So I'm going to let you go to the end, but I want to fill in. So both A and B story have made it to this pool of we're going to fight to the death. And but at this point, it's right after this that he finds out she's a robot, right? Because she gets
she gets shot.
She gets shot in the pool.
And so they run away. And he's like, oh man, I screwed this up. I got us captured. I got you shot. And he's like, wait a minute. And he looks down at her chest and she's got a hole in her chest and it's like spitting sparks. And he goes, you're a robot? And she goes, yeah.
So that's so once we find out she's a robot, I honestly, up until the pool, I thought she was a figment of his imagination. And let me tell you
she's tangible. How about that?
So once she's in the pool and she's having conversations, I'm like, okay, now I don't understand. And let me tell you why.
Wait,
I thought
Frederick is hallucinating the same person?
Exactly. I'm like, no, is because everything just worked out when she was around. He being our hero, was reading a comic book about saving a girlfriend. And that's what makes you a hero, is you have to save your girlfriend.
Okay.
And the moment he reads that panel, she's there. And then he tells her, oh, we need to get you a bike and we need to get you a helmet. And oh, look at that. There's a dead man in the car. And
with a helmet that matches your outfit.
Matches your outfit. And I'm like, oh, he is going insane. He's deranged. And then when he finds the art, like so I thought the whole thing was him spiraling downward. And no, she's a robot. So the second part of the movie was a whole different experience once you knew that.
That's great.
And that was how Kelly did not see it coming.
Well, I mean, you were kind of half right. She isn't real in one sense.
Yes.
I mean, she is a artificially constructed persona. Yeah, so nailed it.
I read you from the start.
That's right. And her name is Apple.
Oh, and her name is Apple. And but here's the thing. And unfortunately, this one I didn't write down. But no, actually, he says, of course it is. And it's so funny because the moment she said her name is Apple, I said, of course it is, because it's just so obvious, but it's obvious for a reason, which is another reason that I thought she was fake, because her name is Apple. Duh. So anyways, so they win in the pool. And our hero, Turbo Kid is the name of the movie. Turbo Rider is who he wants to emulate. That's his
yeah. There was a little side quest earlier where he found the corpse of the real Turbo Rider, so he just took his outfit and laser gauntlet. So he has that now.
And as the amount of time that it took brother to tell you all that there was a side quest, that's about how long the side quest lasted. Yeah,
he falls through a hole in the ground and he finds them. And he's like, guess I'm taking that.
Taking this.
Yep.
There was no... I had a moist.
It's like, oh, I guess these comics were based on a real dude, huh? How about that? Okay.
Yeah, right? So Turbo Kid has a glove that can charge up and basically explode a person. And
it shoots lasers that will explode you, but it needs to recharge.
Sometimes, but
unless it's the climax of the movie and we've got places to be, then he can shoot about 5 times in a row.
Yeah, so take us there after we get, since I've explained the beginning.
Okay. So Cowboy Frederick and our 2 child heroes go their separate ways. But so our child heroes, she's dying because she got shot, so she's slowly leaking health. So they go to the robot. Yeah,
she has like a health meter on her arm that is hearts,
like Legend of Zelda. Yeah,
so
she's got 2 rows of hearts, and she's down to about 7.5 hearts. So they go to a robot junkyard, where they get ambushed by the bikers who are on bikes, and the dude with the skull mask, who's that guy. He also shoots saw blades out of a gauntlet on his arm, and he decapitates Apple. And Turbo Kid, they get cornered at the edge of a cliff, so he goes jumping at the edge of the cliff and grabs the head, and then falls to the ground, which is some toxic pit of the bog of eternal stench or something like that. But that's where
gas.
Yeah, but that's where the robot graveyard is. So he duct tapes her head to another body and then passes out. And then he wakes up in the sidecar of a bicycle driven by Cowboy Frederick, who's now rocking a robot arm because he got that hacked off earlier. He dealt with it. It's okay.
It's an incredible robotic arm too.
Oh yeah, it's full like Ash and Evil Dead 3, Army of Darkness, that full robot hand. It's pretty cool.
It's strong, and I'm like, how much time did you just have that ready? You knew one day you were gonna.
Well, he says he got it. He was in the robot graveyard looking for an arm that he could use, and he just happened, and that's how he happened upon the kid, Turbo Kid, and Apple. And Apple got left behind because she's apparently dead, because you can't just duct tape a head to another body and expect it to work. So he's like, hey,
I know.
Yeah, I've got a bomb. You want to go kill Michael Ironside and his like 10 dudes? He's like, hell yeah. So they go have a standoff in the desert and fight, and Cowboy Frederick and Turbo Kid face off against Michael Ironside's 10-12 dudes and the one woman with the purple mohawk, who I wish they'd actually, striking look. I wish they would have given her a bit more to do in the movie.
Yeah, she has that quintessential, like, every henchman has his, woman that's always angry and, looks up her brow at people. Like, she's that. And this one was, I liked the
badass henchwoman. Yeah,
she was great. I liked all.
Great look. No dialogue, nothing to do until the very end of the movie, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. Oh well.
She didn't speak English.
Maybe the actor may not have spoken English. She's like, I'm sorry, I speak French and heavily accented English. So they're like, whatever. So we have our 2 people. The bomb is ticking down. It's on a 5-minute timer. And so while the bomb's ticking down, they're in a fight, and we get more great kills of people being splattered and hacked in half, and their heads, appear. And one guy gets bisected in the middle, and his top half and his bottom half go flying up into the air, and the top half lands on a guy. So he looks like Goro because he's got another torso and arms on his head. And he's like, oh, I can't see. I've got a disembodied torso on my head. And his bottom half lands on some other guy. So this other guy's like, I can't see. There's like just legs.
It was very reminiscent, and you won't know this reference, but I'm hoping some people will. In the show Friends.
You're right. Monica, I'm not going to know this.
Yeah, no, you're not. But Monica, who is Courtney Cox, puts a turkey carcass, not carcass, an actual just like a turkey for Thanksgiving on
Okay.
her head, uncooked. There is a
Why?
storyline. There is a storyline, but
Oh,
that's not the
well,
one we're
okay.
here to tell today. But it is a very well-known moment. So anyone who's trying to
Is it a sex
visualize,
thing?
no,
Okay.
no. If that was the way my tone made it seem, holy moly, no.
I'm
But
just trying to think of why you would stick your head up a bird's ass.
it is the first time that Chandler told her that he loved her, and her head was up a bird's ass, and it was a big thing. And he's like,
Well,
okay,
then
like, I didn't say
it must be
Anyway,
true
there you go.
because no one would lie about that when your head's stuck up a bird's butt.
True love.
That's true love.
That's true love.
So
So that's what it looks like, with someone's upper torso planted on someone's shoulders and up, and then someone's lower half planted on someone's shoulders and up.
So the fights continue, and it's just an excuse for fun gore gags, including more people who get splattered. And the guy who has a torso on his head has, I think, 2 more torsos land on top of that. So he's like a standing human centipede. It's hilarious.
And he's constantly doing that,
he's like, I can't
over
see.
the top. I can't see. He's just still like,
it's like, dude, lean forward a little bit.
I would be like,
who turned off the lights? Exactly.
I'd just been like, I'm out. I'm done. I'd be done.
So badass purple mohawk woman starts beating the snot out. She's one of the last ones, and she starts beating the snot out of Turbo Kid. And she's got him dead to rights. And at this point, also the bomb has ticked down to 0, but it failed. It did. The timer doesn't work. So
it was pretty old.
Yeah, it's old. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But Apple shows up
because
on her bicycle.
He has a tracker on him. Remember, right. I told you that.
That was set up. That's how she found him.
And apparently, also, I guess duct taping a head to another body does work.
Yeah, it just needs a little while to route the
wires.
Exactly.
I think it was a mannequin though. Was it a human body?
I think it was just another robot body.
Oh, so it was the robot graveyard.
Right.
Okay, that's fair.
It's just another body. That. Yeah. So she finds a unicorn head, only like the front half of a carousel unicorn, not like an actual unicorn
downstairs.
Right. And she ties it to the front of the bike and just rams Purple Mohawk Girl from behind and impales her on the unicorn horn.
Yes.
And Purple Mohawk woman looks severely put out by that. She's like, oh man, this was my favorite breastplate.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm like, what was that made out of? Because it went through her body out to the other side and backwards through this breastplate.
It's probably plastic, something she picked up at like a Spirit Halloween store that was hollowed out or something. It's probably not real metal.
Oh, okay. Fair.
So yeah. So let's see.
So during this time, you all might be wondering about Michael Ironside, and because he is just watching all this happen. But he was Turbo Kid charged his
she brought him his laser bracelet again.
Yeah. She brings it back on her triumphant ride to kill Purple-Headed Girl.
And I guess it's been charging for a while because he gets like 5 or 6 shots out of this damn thing.
Oh,
and he just mists a bunch of people. And one guy attacks him with an umbrella, which he grabs, and then he impales another dude, which I think it's the guy in the skull mask, right? Or is it, I forget who it is, but
who is it that gets the umbrella?
I think it's the guy in the skull mask, right? With the buzzsaw thing. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But so he sticks him with the umbrella and opens the umbrella, and the guy explodes. And so he and Apple stand under the umbrella and smooch while it rains gore for like 45 seconds. It's just very misty.
It was super misty.
Yeah.
Like that was some like very interesting. I'm like, that was a very watery individual, apparently.
Well, a lot of the practical blood in this was very Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
which is fine. You know, there's a lot of stuff where there's a bunch. There's just so many great gore gags where people get like bisected through the face and the top of their head just kind of spins around in place. Where people
Yes.
get buzz saws to the chest or the face and just blood just explodes everywhere. It's wonderful.
Oh yeah, bodies
So
stay erect and stay like in death position in order to spurt blood anywhere. And then that one dude who falls into three different pieces. You know, one
yeah,
slides off this way, another slides this way, and then it's just
which they could have, which they did practically.
yeah.
Again, they built a dummy and they cut it, bisected it, or trisected it, and just had it fall apart and spit blood all over the place. And it's clearly a dummy, but who cares? It's fun.
Oh yeah,
And it
I
looks a
love
lot
it.
better than it would be if it was done digitally.
Yeah.
So Michael Ironside is the last one standing, so he shoots him with his thing, but Michael Ironside doesn't blow up. He just gets knocked backwards, which is kind of weird.
Right.
So when they're done smooching, Michael Ironside stands up, turns around, and oh my gosh, he was a robot the whole time.
And Apple goes, "Oh, you didn't know?" Which is actually kind of funny because I would assume.
Yeah, Turbo Kid's like, "You're a robot?" She goes, "You know."
And that's
oh,
thing.
what?
So
all us robots look the same? Human?
Well, yeah, we all look human. So the thing is, though, is so he was shot with that gun that just explodes you, and it
Michael
didn't
Ironside.
Yes, Michael Ironside, and it didn't make him go boom. And then they're sitting there smooching, and I was watching it, and we're like, aren't you at all concerned about the guy who didn't somehow explode? Like,
yeah,
that's
it's
concerning.
a red flag.
That is a red flag. Like, yeah. So, anyways, that was interesting that they're just like, oh, it's all because our two heroes are acting like it's over.
Yeah.
And there's still a dude over there that didn't explode from the explosion.
So Turbo Kid kicks the unexploded bomb over by Michael Ironside, who can shoot lasers out of his mouth, which is set up because when he first finds out that Apple's a robot, he's like, "Can you like shoot lasers from your mouth?" Which was like a random. I'm like, well, that's a eyes, sure, but mouth, weird. Apparently, that was a thing that some robots do. So, okay. So Michael Ironside shooting a laser, and he kicks the bomb over, shoots it with his zappy arm thing, which still has plenty of charges. I guess it just needed a long ass time to charge up. Michael Ironside goes kaboom.
Boom. Yes.
And Apple shields Turbo Kid with her body, which destroys her. So she dies for. I don't know why I didn't just haul her back to the robot graveyard. But I was
like, find her. Just take the head. Apparently, that's
all you need. But it was set up earlier that when his parents taught him before Michael Ironside killed him in a flashback, that when people die, they become the stars, and now she's a shining star up in the sky, watching down on him. Oh, and the explosion also unleashes a geyser of water from underground, so everyone's fine now, and Turbo Kid is going to go explore the wasteland. The end.
There you go. And it's so funny because he being Turbo Kid asks Apple when they meet.
And this movie also knows to keep it to 90 minutes.
Yes, that was very excellent. But I knew when they meet, and he asks her what she thinks the stars are, and she tells him exactly what the stars are, like
a bunch of dust and stuff. The gravity pulls it together into it's like not as poetic.
And he goes, "Oh, well, my mother told me this," and so he tells her that story, and I immediately turned to Fuchs and
she's dead.
And I said, so she's gonna. I was like, she's gonna die, and the movie is going to end with like a star in the sky going twinkle.
Yeah.
And it did.
Yep.
There was, because it pans to the sky, but it was like a delayed twinkle. It was like, yeah, we did. Just like, yeah, we're gonna make it twinkle, and you're like, yep.
You think we wouldn't twinkle? Oh, we gonna twinkle.
Oh, we gonna twinkle.
So a movie like this is all in the details.
Yes.
Do you have likable, fun characters? They don't need to be good characters with rich thematic backstories. No, they're just fun. Turbo Kid is charming. Apple is simultaneously adorable, but also incredibly creepy. So you totally understand why he runs away from her.
Yes.
Because anyone who just unceasingly smiles at you is
And
just
she
like,
has
okay.
he's like, there are times.
Hi,
How do you have
I'm
so
your
much
friend
energy?
now.
Yeah. Like, how do you have so much energy? He's like leaning back, like, oh, I'm tired, you know. She's and yet that was another thing when they first met each other, and she's like just yelling and all this. I'm like, dude, why weren't any of his rules like shut the up? Like, if you're really trying, like, there's a danger zone, and if there's like people out there to kill you, like maybe, and he lives alone, and he has like a lot of alarms and bells that he's like rigged up so that he knows if there's approaching people and or rats that he can then kill and sell or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then he meets this girl who starts screaming at the top of her lungs. You're like, maybe quell that. But he never, and he brings her through, you know, if you're gonna, you know, be my partner, if you're gonna like ride with me, if you will, there's some rules, and he goes through all these rules, which are fine, but
none of them are like, be quiet.
Stop screaming in my ear. Like, it was, you know, have a weapon and do that. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with his rules, but
Mm-hmm. You think one? I was thinking one of them would be like, you know, turn down the volume so you don't broadcast our position to all the other bad guys on bikes.
Exactly. That's exactly. I was like, when is he going to say it? Because she is drawing attention.
So we've got an arm wrestling contest where there are two heated brands on both sides of the table. So the loser gets their hand pushed into a heated brand. That's pretty awesome.
That is really funny. You're like,
there's a scene later where the cowboy arm wrestler Frederick gets kidnapped. He's like, I know you like arm wrestling, so I set it up just for you. And they have two blenders, only without the glass
carafe,
jars, the carafe. So it's just a base blender with a little whirly blade, and it's on fire. He's like, and it's on blades and fire. Yeah, there's a torture method where some guy gets his intestines slightly pulled out through an incision in his stomach, and then tied to a rope, which is tied to the back of a stationary bicycle. And so they're like, if you don't tell us where the turbo kit is, I'm going to ride my bicycle and just rip all your guts out, which is amazing. And he immediately spills guts. He spills his guts. Get it? I just got that. He immediately, they're over there in the robot graveyard. He's like, oh, well, shoot.
He goes,
do you know how long this took? Do you know how long it took to set this up? I mean, we can't not do it.
This is Michael Ironside, of course.
What a waste it would be if we didn't yank your guts out through via stationary bicycle.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was hilarious. Because I thought that was great, because I thought, oh, honey, they were gonna do it to you anyway. Like,
there's a lot of fun makeshift weapons. Like he duct tapes two hammer handles together, so he has a dual-headed hammer. One guy has hammer nunchucks.
Yes.
One guy has a sledgehammer, which is a cinder block tied to the end of a stick.
Which I'm like, the amount of strength this gentleman had, because it's a stick that can drag on the ground behind him. So for you, the power that would take to use that stick with the cinder block on the end and to swing it. I mean, again, it's foam. But I was like, dang, dude. And that's how, by the way, Cowboy Frederick's brother is killed with the cinder block.
Yeah, I don't even remember if we mentioned that, but his whole B plot is, I'm looking for my brother. Oh, he was killed in the earlier scene. Oh, poop. You know, ain't that a pisser? I'm gonna come back with a dud bomb and the turbo kit, and we're gonna kill you and your entire crew of about 10 people.
But there's got to be more, because I think there's more than 10 kills. Did you count? Like, how many kills are there? No one counted, because
I didn't count.
Either.
More than 10.
Yeah.
they might be killing the same people.
That's
They
what
probably
I
had a
mean,
pool of like 10. I don't think there were ever more than 10 actual individual actors on screen at one time.
agreed. They just had different outfits for different
Hmm.
locations, maybe. But yeah, there were never more than, which is why I thought it was very funny as we were just recounting the big climactic scene. I'm like, there might have been more deaths than there were people standing around Michael Ironside. But I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I'm wrong.
And
So
production design, I think is pretty nice. It's all desert and rock quarries.
yeah.
But the set dressings are nice, with just a bunch of garbage laying around. They do some nice matte paintings. At least I don't know if it's a physical painting or a digital painting, but it's matted in there so it's the old school way to do digital set extensions, and it looks nice. They do this thing where they're color grading the what they're like near a body of water, so they color grade it like green to let you know it's like, yeah, there's water, but that's toxic sludge that no one can drink that. So
Yeah.
it's some real nice touches there. And you could say, oh, well, they had no money, and well, that's true, they didn't. But also, that's exactly how Hell Comes to Frogtown and all of these other post-apocalyptic Robo Jocks and all these other
Yeah.
well, Robo Jocks, a lot of the money went into the robots. But as far as sets, they're like, we're just filming out in the desert. That's it. We're just
Don't
bringing
mind
everyone
us.
on out to.
Don't mind us. We'll just
That's
be over
free
here shooting.
production. Mother Nature is free production value right there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You go far enough, and no one ever yells at you for filming.
True. So so quintessential 80s, and you choose this movie. So first off, the reason why we chose quintessential 80s as a theme is because brother and I were born in the 80s. Um so obviously we don't give each other parameters once we have the theme. We think of the theme and then we let you interpret it however you seem fit. So of all the movies made in the 80s, you chose one that just has like the feel.
Yeah. It was difficult for
Dare
me.
I ask what your other options were?
You know what? I had there's another film that, so far as I know, is not a 80s pastiche, but is set in the 80s, Wet Hot American Summer.
I think
Paul Rudd's in
first
it.
off, I
It's
know
like,
for a fact I have not seen that, but I
yeah, I
think
hadn't seen
I'm
it either.
aware of it. As in, aren't there comedians who are someone today in it?
I think so, yeah.
I'm terrible. I have no descriptive words right now, apparently. People who we know were in it.
Another one I hadn't seen it though.
The Red Hot American
Wet Hot American Summer. I hadn't seen it, so and I'd like to because I hear it's really funny, but having not seen it and it not actually being from the 80s, I was like, nah, I'm not I'd seen
sure.
Turbo Kid before, so I'm like, okay, this is full on 80s homage. One 80s film that I did consider was Fright Night.
Oh,
which also a
has
Chris Sarandon. Yeah. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what. Did you see the remake? I think Colin Farrell's in it.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I have
called Fright Night?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
Oh yes. No, I mean still the answer is no, I haven't seen it, but all of a sudden I was like, there was a new one. Yeah, no.
I think the reason I didn't go with Fright Night or anything else from the 80s is because I wanted to grab the reason Turbo Kid appealed to me is because it takes so many elements of the 80s and stirs them all up into one package rather than, Fright Night being an example of that type of kids paranormal horror like Lost Boys or the not Breakfast Club, Monster Squad, films like that, Goonies to an extent, kid friendly horror. Right. Although Fright Night's a little bit is definitely harder than the aforementioned, but
It tries.
If audience, if you've not seen the original Fright Night, I can't speak for the remake, but the original Fright Night is the goods.
Yeah.
I actually saw it for the first time in the theater, like 10 years ago or something like that. It was playing at some it was having some revival up in LA somewhere, probably in Hollywood, and I got tickets and I went
Nice.
and so
Well,
because it was one of those ones that I'd always wanted to see but had just never seen, and saw it and loved it. I'm like, I remember the cover, the VHS cover, because I saw Fright Night in Blockbuster Video and other video stores all the time. You know, it has the house and the
doorway that's glowing,
the woman with all the teeth, you know, over the house, and yeah. So yeah, good movie. Anyway, so
what brought you to, like, I know why you picked Turbo Kid now, and I like all that, but how did you ever, like, how did you learn of Turbo? Like, when in your life did you watch Turbo Kid? Obviously, it's been in the last 7 years, but
yeah,
because I hadn't even heard of it.
I think I had heard of it, because when it was doing the rounds at the Sundance. Yeah, I think I'd heard of it, and I saw a trailer, and I think Shudder picked it up and ran it for a year or two, and I think I first saw it when it was on Shudder. It's sadly not on that service anymore, so I watched it on Plex, which is a streaming service that I because it's on Tubi, it's on Crackle.
So I watched it on Tubi. Shout out to where I watched it.
Yeah. I decided, let me give Plex a try. See, it has this weird thing where you have to hit the button twice to get it to pause. So one button brings up the controls, and then the same button pauses it, which is weird and unnecessary to me. It also goes beep every time you hit the button, which is annoying. The picture quality is great. It does HD very nicely, but its ad inserts are all in like the middle of scenes. Like, no one is curating exactly where the ad breaks go.
Tubi did well, I'm gonna say.
Tubi, I haven't had a problem with that stuff. Their picture quality leaves a little to be desired, but being an 80s pastiche, you're watching it standard def, you know, probably works well for that movie.
I was gonna say, just wait till you watch mine. It's not gonna be. It'll be a little granular.
Not sure.
Yes.
Grainy.
Yes.
Okay.
The film texture.
Well, before we move to that, do you have any particular favorite gore gag from Turbo Kid?
Honestly, I think that the one that you said with a gentleman or lady, I actually don't recall who, because everyone has face masks on, of the bad gang, gets the head chopped at the brow line, the skull, and it just does the spin as if it was like unscrewing. And it just screws on up.
Yeah.
And it reminded me also of, there's the firecrackers that, you know, you light and they just go, and they just go up and go, and yeah, and that's exact. And so I laughed at that one.
That's a good one.
Probably the most I laughed at that one. But really, and then what's Cowboy takes the jaw off of that one guy. And it's pretty, like, because they go from the actor, and then they cut real quick, obviously, and it's obviously, you're like, oh, it's very reminiscent of when they look at the arc at the end of
Raiders.
Thank you. And their skin is all melting
off.
It looked like that, just like pulling.
Right. Yeah.
As he's pulling this man's jaw off, his like
skin
is,
stretches and stuff. Yeah.
Into it, so it looked kind of.
And he doesn't just yank the guy's jaw off. He then shoves the jaw, the jawbones right into his eyeballs. So he like stabs him in the face with his own jaw.
So yeah, those are the two for me that I really I really did.
So overall, did you enjoy Turbo Kid?
I did. It was and it's
fun.
I've already told you this story, and it's hilarious because it has kid in the title.
Oh, I was going to ask you to tell that. Yeah.
If you have watched the trailer, you'll get this. So I was trying to figure out when I was going to watch the movie because we had the kids over the weekend, and I thought, Turbo Kid, 80s, this could be a very, kid-friendly movie. I should watch the preview because, by the way, I'm not an idiot who just goes by the title. I'm sorry, soapbox, let me get down. So I did my homework and I turn on the preview, and let me tell you, the first maybe 10 to 15 seconds of the preview is a meet cute of the Apple and Turbo Kid, and you're like, look, it's a little meet cute adventure, and there's gonna be bad guys in skull
they're on bicycles,
and literally you're just like having this moment of like, and they're on bikes, and the music is tricking you, and then all of a sudden you see one of the blades like go straight into a guy's face, and blood just spurts out, and I'm like, no. But it's how quickly it went from sure, look how cute, it might be stupid, shit, nope, not a kids movie. they will need to not be here.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, again, it had a lot of good gore. It was fast paced. The lead two, Apple and Turbo Kid, were fun characters to follow, and he's not even hero-ish. He just stumbled across a suit that makes guys, he became his own hero. I need to stop like interrupting my own sentences just because you know where I'm going, brother. Doesn't mean that everyone else does.
Well, I've had decades to figure you out.
That's the thing. I don't finish sentences, and yet you've never not understood me, but I will work on this. So there was nothing to dislike. I'm probably never watch it again. I'm not gonna show Jeremy. I'll tell him about it, and if he wants to watch it on his own, that's great. But I'm not gonna be like, you know what, you should really sit down and watch this.
Yeah.
But it was a very enjoyable sit. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
So yeah.
Cool. Yeah. All right, your turn. What movie do you mandate I watch?
Okay, so Quintessential 80s. We're going with Heathers.
Heathers. Okay.
Have you seen Heathers?
I have. Christian Slater.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't they make that into a musical?
Yeah. Yeah, they did.
Oh. Did it not go well?
Would you make Ferris Bueller into a musical?
I mean,
there are sacred things to me. Heathers is one of the sacred ones.
Okay. Is it because of Christian Slater, or is there more to the movie than that?
I mean, we're going to talk about that
okay.
On movie mandates.
Right. Okay. Well, today's episode may have come to an end, but Quintessential 80s month continues next time with Kelly's mandated movie, Heathers. Until then, you can watch movie mandates on YouTube or listen to it in podcast form on iTunes. I'm Andrew, and you can follow me on Twitter at Andrew Eisen.
And I'm Kelly, and you can follow me on Twitter at GetEisenGuard.
We hope you've all enjoyed this episode of Movie Mandates, and we'll be back soon with another mandated movie. Bye, everyone.